Hello and welcome to this rather special UniCast episode, the end of 2020 and our Christmas edition. So welcome to all the viewers and the listeners out there. And let me introduce my fellow UniCaster, David Bell. Hi, Dave.
Good morning, Nick. Good morning, everybody. Well, we're in for a treat today, Nick. I know we've had some offline discussions about what this year's been about and what it's meant to us, and potentially what the future holds. And I know throughout this 30-minute show, we're going to be covering some of the stuff that's happened throughout this year because it's been exciting. It's been challenging as well. There's no doubt for quite a lot of us, we've seen lots of challenges.
Yeah, I must say, David, you are looking very, very funky and festive. I've done my best, man. Right, I've done my best, but I can't keep up with your tech-enabled festivity.
I, I
But yeah,
suppose.
you're right. You're definitely right. It's been what, a year, right? But we could just have a whole episode bemoaning what a tough year it's been. But I don't think it's going to be like that. I don't think our conversation will be down in the dumps, because we'll be talking about entrepreneurs, we'll be talking about startups, we'll be talking about a host of things that have been very positive, that have come out of a very difficult year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my virtual glasses off. For those that are listening and not watching, um, just to give you a little bit of background about, I have this tree scene behind me, very festive, and I'm wearing some virtual ho 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 Christmas glasses. But I'm going to switch those off now. Modern technology. There we go. Look a little bit more normal. So absolutely, Nick. I think it's been a great year in some ways. I mean, there's always going to be negativity. There's always going to be the doom and gloom, or the doom and gloomers, should I say. But I think what we need to do is actually look back and go, do you know what? What positives can we take out from, the last 12 months? Where's the good come from? And actually, okay, there's been certainly a number of lessons learned, but what can we take away from that? And how can we learn from that? And what can we do better come 2021? What are the new things that we can implement? And you know, I suppose we've just got to understand that we're in unprecedented times. Life's never easy, and all we've been thrown is a few more challenges this year. And I think majority of business owners have adapted and coped very well, and in some cases had to pivot their businesses as well.
Yeah, I think there'll be plenty of conversations around the downside of 2020. Totally understandable. What a shocker! Those businesses that have massively struggled for no fault of their own. Heart goes out to them. I run an events business, and there is no events industry at the moment. So ridiculously tough environment, but it's still an environment where individuals, young businesses, startups can thrive, as we've seen in our Unicast episodes so far, which we all refer to. So yeah, let's look at the positive aspects that we can draw from a year that was full of change and uncertainty. And I know generally from a business perspective, you throw a load of uncertainty into the mix, and it's very uncomfortable. But if this business journey that you and I are on has taught us anything, that the environment is constantly changing. Okay, very bumpy this year for sure, but constantly changing. And you kind of got to be on your toes to see where the industry is coming. Look at all those businesses that have failed years ago, the blockbusters of old, that didn't change, didn't pivot, didn't see what potentially the future looks like. So yeah, I think from a business perspective, the word pivot is probably the business term of the year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what we have seen as well, yeah, the word pivot is kind of that business word of the year. But it's not unusual. Businesses have been pivoting, as you say, for years, Nick, and some have failed to do so. You mentioned blockbusters, and they could have, when things weren't, the writing was starting to come on the walls. If I remember the story, vaguely, that they did go into kind of a receivership, and then they found some new buyers who come along and took it over, but they still didn't change anything. They just they just new investment come in, a bit more money thrown at it, and hey, everything's going to be okay, isn't it? And of course, then I think it was about 12 months, 18 months later, they hit the brick wall again, and that was the final shutters down and all the shops closed down. Why? Because they didn't see the necessity to pivot and change. Netflix, which kind of really probably put the nail in the coffin for them, or was certainly one of the reasons. They saw the future. They saw the technology being out there. They knew that people, could stream and download video content and watch it from the comfort of their own home without having to get in the car and go and pick up a DVD or dare I say, a VHS cassette. And of course, let's go back in time. Let's look at the Betamax and the VHS. Prime example, two great technologies at the time for recording content. For the young ones out there, by the way, this was like a big block that you put into a tape recorder and it recorded onto tape. Very antiquated these days. But there was two versions. There was Betamax and there was VHS. And they were both great technologies. And actually, Betamax was a better technology. But it lost the war. VHS won. And the same happened with Sky. You had British Sky Broadcasting, which had the squareals. I don't know if you remember the squareals, Nick. And then you had, as we know it today, and they had the analog dish. So you had BSB, which was sending out digital signals, and you had analog Sky. And analog Sky won the war. But the original BSB squareal, which was digital, was a far better quality picture and sound. So sometimes, it's not always about, it's about seeing the future, and it's about adapting, and technology has a really big place, I think, where we are today. And we're seeing that certainly throughout 2020, how we've all had to jump onto these video conferencing platforms like we are now, Nick, Zoom. We'd love to be sharing a coffee around a boardroom table, recording this particular video, but we've had to adapt and pivot how we do things. And of course, we're doing this online. So technology is a big thing. And we saw that with Uni. That was the opportunity we saw, wasn't it? If we think back to our original ideas around Uni, we sat there and thought, technology, communication, which is your area of expertise and skills, how can we bring this together? And look where we are today.
Yeah, and I think so. Without the technology, okay, I have a love-hate relationship with technology. Okay, I know it's can't do without it, but there is a let's just say an evil side to it, right? So can't just rely on the tech, but without that beautiful combination of the great tech, great communication, Uni wouldn't be doing what it's currently doing. But yeah, you look at the year and think, okay, what's happened to the university environment, right? Like most other communication spaces, it's gone online. And yeah, you harness the technology to deliver the best communication, the best content that you can. And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve with Uni. We want to have great conversations, we want to share great content, and want to make that accessible. And the technology allows us to make that accessible on a global basis. So kind of one of the things, I guess, to come out of 2020 is, what does my business look like in this very global marketplace? I thought we used to be around a boardroom and a conference room and running a workshop with a few dozen people. And now, in theory, my audience is anyone who's got a PC and they can plug into a network. So it just potentially, the audience just goes to ridiculous figures. But then again, so does the competition, right? Everybody's online trying to do their thing. And one of the things I saw is, as soon as kind of the pandemic hit and everyone went into lockdown and the word pivot was kind of the headline, I saw many businesses just throw themselves online without thinking, what does the online version of what we do look like? And it's kind of, you miss a trick, I think, if you don't just stop for a moment and think, okay, is the online version of what I do exactly the same as the face-to-face version, or do I need to tweak it? Do I need to reinvent it almost for a different experience, different dynamic, and potentially a different audience? And I think we're trying to capture that with Uni, of multiple audiences. What exactly is it we can deliver that gives the most value?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one of the things that we also saw with uni is that we saw this opportunity, and we've got some some fantastic universities throughout the country, and no doubt on a global scale as well. And our plan was, how can we get information to students, to small businesses as well, because I know uni is obviously focusing pretty much on working with university students, startups, etc. But we're not limited to. We're really happy to work with niche startups, or small organisations that need some guidance and need some help. And it's about sharing education in a fun format as well. We wanted to make it a little bit more light-hearted at times. Which we believe we're quite good at, Nick. We know we've done it in the real world, where we've
Here we go.
theatres, and we've had lots of people sitting in the audience, and we've made them smile many a times and laugh and giggle, and actually walk away taking away some golden nuggets, being well informed. But it's also about getting everyone collaborating as well, because working from home, or being based from home, learning from home, can get I'm going to use the word tedious. It can get lonesome, and you're stuck there all day every day, dialing in and looking at a screen. So I think what we wanted to do is make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more energetic, and it's not just a kind of here's a lecture and we're going to tell you what it's all about. We want to draw out all those ideas from people and hear what they've got to say as well. And that's
Yeah.
really part of our idea around uni. How can we communicate better? How can we use technology to create engagement? And how can we support these fantastic ideas and these new startup opportunities that are out there? And also demonstrate to them that now is as good time as any. Yes, we're in this global pandemic. Yes, COVID-19 has been a rough ride for lots of business this year. And no doubt, dare I say, it's not going to disappear come the 1st of January 2021. And then, of course, we're going to be fueled with Brexit and other things that are going to come into play as well. There's always going to be challenges, but we've got to look at this as opportunity and not as the challenge. So, overall, this year, it's been a bumpy ride. It's been it's been to a degree an educational and a fun ride, and we've launched a new business, and we've met some great guests on our show. Chris Pickard was on one of our very recent shows, and he was an airport designer. And he was designing security for airports and the flows of how the travellers all work through the airport. Of course, March the 23rd, 2020, lockdown kicked in, and his business, his consultancy company, just ceased. In
Mhm.
his own words, it just stopped. And when he was on our show, it was like, well, what did you do? And yes, he pivoted, but in fact, it wasn't really a pivot. It was a complete change. And he launched Chocoletta, which is an online platform for purchasing unique, sustainable chocolate bars. And I know the business is now up and running, and he's doing excellent. He's got orders coming in from something from nothing to something, which is now become a new business, which he's doing with his wife, his family. They've taken the time. I think one of the things you said, he didn't jump on it on the 23rd and change overnight. He thought about it, looked at the opportunity, did the research, and come up with a brand new idea. And fingers crossed for him, it continues to be super successful.
Yeah, it looks great for him. Imagine if we were having this conversation at the beginning of 2020 with him. All right, Chris, what are you up to? Yeah, I'm a consultant. I work on airports. Oh yeah, what's your year look like? Yeah, it's going to be really good. We're going to build airports. We're going to do all this cool stuff. At no point would he see himself months later being Mr. Chocolate, right? But that just shows, there must be something going on in his head, thinking, well, okay, I can't do this, but what else can I do? And I think the years most definitely given people um, time to reflect and consider and appreciate the direction that potentially they're going in. So where I live in Essex, right? There's just a mass of its commuter belt, right? So generally, Chelmsford, where I live, goes pretty quiet during the day because most people are on the train into London, right? And suddenly that stops. Okay, so people are now given more time to consider. Well, is that the life for me? Do even when things go back to whatever they go back to, I think there'll be a series of people thinking, well, actually, I want more from this life of mine. I perhaps don't want to work for somebody else. I want to try something, I've always dreamed of this, and I want to try this or that. And I think that makes the content that we share across the uni platform even more relevant. Where there's us thinking, well, it's student based, it's young entrepreneurs. I think there'll be an audience next year for a much kind of, let's say, older or maybe more experienced in the workplace entrepreneur. But yeah, Chris, prime example. What are you going to do, Chris? There's no more, airports, forget about it right now. What are you going to do? And I imagine the thought process was quite interesting before Ping, well, of course, I'm going to work in the chocolate world, going to become a chocolate man. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic.
Modern world Willy Wonka, and he's going to hopefully now scale his business. That's the crucial part from going forwards. First, it was the startup phase of getting the business up, running, finding the right suppliers, getting the stock, building the customer base, which obviously takes time. It's not an overnight thing. And now he would be thinking about scalability come 2021 and how he's going to grow that business. Make it more sustainable, potentially, onboard, new team members. That might be one of the steps for 2021. And I suppose that all depends on how quick it grows and develops. But it's a bit like Ryan McGee. He come on to one of our first or very early episodes, and he was a university student at Loughborough, and he left Loughborough, got his walked away with his degree and stuff like that, and he was super chuffed. But while he was in university, him and his partner Charlie decided to launch their business, Househack, just before lockdown kicked in, or just before the pandemic really was kind of becoming anything known to most of us. But they didn't stop there. They didn't give up. They continued, and when they did graduate and they come away, and it's like, well, we've got to keep doing this. We've got a niche. We found out, what we've got to do. And Househack, was then transitioned into their business, their day-to-day way of, generating an income for them. And again, it's been tough for them, but they're on a super journey. And we said to them, if you can make this work in 2020, my God, you're gonna, sail through this. And the other side of it, you're gonna look back and go, yeah, the seas were a bit rough, but hey, we navigated it well, and now we're on calmer seas and things are looking rosy and good. So, good luck to them. Two young, dynamic, very entrepreneurial individuals, and they've certainly got their heads screwed on and know what they want to get.
Yeah, and I think that there's talking to them, right? You can sense the energy, you can sense the enthusiasm and the excitement in an idea that they've grabbed and they're running with. And I think as you kind of you work your way through the let's say the choppy seas of the year, I think without that dynamism, without that enthusiasm, and an odd kind of optimism about what the future might hold, it's going to be a struggle, isn't it? I know for myself, right? I'm a people kind of person, and then suddenly I've got a year sitting in front of the PC. And one of the things, the big kind of learning lessons for me from the year was, what do relationships look like when you can't go down the pub anymore, or you can't meet in a meeting room? You and I can't go for a cup of coffee and talk about all sorts of stuff, right? We're now faced with a different environment to build relationships, and it's a very, the word different shouldn't be underestimated. Building a relationship online like this, hi, this is me, really challenging, especially for us humans, because there's a limited amount of information flowing that we normally would pick up on masses of stuff, and trying to focus on this kind of space for long term, really difficult. Really difficult, because like no other conversation, okay, we've never been surrounded by so many distractions, okay, because chances are a lot of these conversations happen at home, if you're lucky in the office at home, and if you're really lucky on your own in that space with your audience, but your chances are even then you're surrounded by, you've got your phone to one side, you've got messages pinging in, building relationships in 2020, new ones, I think has been a huge but exciting challenge.
Yeah. So what about 21? Now I know when we come back in the new year, we're going to have a break now. This is our festive. This is going out to the audience for Happy Christmas and everything like that. But we're going to come back in the new year. We're going to have a week off. We're going to come back in early January, and we're going to record our kind of our intro to 2021. But it's a bit of a teaser. It's a bit of a taster. What do you think 2021 holds? Do you think we're going to see more of the same of 2020? And I know we all want to be strong and say, yes, of course we are. It's going to be a fantastic year ahead, and we've got to be positive. But I think we also need to be realistic. What should businesses, what should startups, what should those individuals with a great idea be thinking? If you was about to start a business, Nick, maybe you're just leaving university or about to leave university, you've got this idea. What would you do? What would be your advice to yourself in that situation?
And this is the question, right? The question for 2021. What on earth, right? I want to start a business. What on earth am I gonna do? And tough, right? Tough if you go in blind. But we're not going in blind. We've had months of an environment where chances are we've learned a lot. And as most new businesses, most entrepreneurial ideas are based on where's there a gap? Where's there a gap in the market? What can I do that maybe other people aren't doing yet or aren't doing very well? How can I tweak and enhance on something that looks reasonably successful? So I think there's going to be opportunities out there. Um, my old head is probably going to struggle to see those opportunities more than that young, fresh, kind of vibrant, tech-enabled student. But I think for sure there's going to be challenges. Right? And I love a New Year's, not so much a resolution, but a New Year's challenge. And because a challenge I can really kind of get my teeth into. One of these big challenges is how does this idea that's in my head fly? And I think you're going to need support and people, some people that have been there and experienced it, but also some people that can kind of keep geeing you on. So Ryan has a very capable business partner, and no doubt they just work off each other and kind of get these ideas and they grow and infuse because of that combination. I think if you're going to try and do it on your own, it's going to be a rough road, hard work. So look for support. So
Yeah.
answering that question in a much shorter way, I think, David, if it was me leaving university now, I would look to see where I can get some support from.
And I think that's for any business that starts up. So we're kind of talking about university students who are coming to the end or taking their idea, turning it into a real business. And there's going to be lots of people out there who maybe have been made redundant. As you said earlier, Nick, they were commuting up into the city, working the 9 till 5, or dare I say, probably 7 till 7. And, they've gone, do I want to go back to doing that? Do I want to be commuting every day? Do I want to be away from my family? I've loved the time with my family. I've had more precious time to do the things that we want to do as a family. Or if they're not as a family unit, I've had more time to focus on, the hobbies, my interests, etc. I'm not, getting up every morning, matchsticks in the eyes, to get myself to and from work. And I think there's going to be a lot of people going through those thought processes, and because of that, I think there's going to be a lot of individuals and hopefully couples that come together, business partners, are going to go, do you know what? Let's start a new business. So as much as I think we're going to see the demise of some businesses, unfortunately, they're going to run out of cash. Certainly in the hospitality industry, we know it's extremely tough. There's going to be the end to some. But I think it's the rebirth of others as well. It's a realignment. That's the word I'm kind of really using a lot at the moment. It's a realignment. It's a bit of a shake-up. And I do think the future does look positive and it does look rosy. I think we've got to adapt because I don't see COVID disappearing on the 1st of January 21. It could be with us for another 2 or 3 years in some way, shape, or form. So I think businesses need to adapt. They need to look at what they can do, how they can bring it online, or how they can deliver the content, the product, the service safely in a safe environment, obviously in line with rules and regulations. And I think maybe that's something we talk about in 21. What can people do? What can organisations do, companies do to protect themselves, but to get their business, focused for for the year ahead, and how can they start collaborating, building better relationships? Because I think that is the really big thing. Networking is not the same online digitally. It's not, but there's still a space for it. And actually, through running a number of networking groups, one of them for the Federation of Small Businesses, we've seen some great uptake and actually some really good relationships and some fantastic businesses being done. And no doubt that's happened at lots of other online networking meetups and stuff like that. So I think 21 is exciting. We've got to think it's going to be exciting. It's going to come with its own set of challenges, but together, collaboratively, I think we can weather that storm even further, and we will look forward to seeing the nice, flat, calm seas ahead.
Wow. Are there ever such things? Calm, flat seas in business? If so, I've not seen many of them. But I totally agree, though. I look at the year ahead with massive positivity. And I know for a lot of people, they've had to kind of evolve their business this year. It's like a forced evolution. It's evolve or die. And in business, that's the rough end of it, but it's also exciting. Because with it comes new challenges, new experiences, and ideally growth. So yeah, massive amounts to look forward to. Very excited about our New Year edition because it will be bubbling with these ideas and enthusiasm. But it's been a joy, an absolute joy since we started uni. A joy interviewing all these great business thinkers and seeing how their journeys have developed. And it's been great fun too. All of everything. If it's not going to be fun, there's a very good chance we ain't going to do it. All right. So it will continue to be a load of fun. All the content will be fun, delivered in a fun way. It's been great, mate.
So I think that's the point we get to. I can put back on my Christmas hat along with my nice white fluffy beard. And I think this is the point, Nick. We wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas. We wish you a very prosperous New Year. We look forward to seeing you in 21. And of course, most importantly, I think is stay safe and have a fantastic Christmas. So for me, David Bell.
And me, Nick Looby.
Merry Christmas.
Cheerio.